Following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me. Do you think that you could repeat the question? And I listen more attentively. There must have been something in all of that nothing that wasn't quite so easy to see. And I must have missed something when you were just talking to me.
10 more seconds, Ed.
I must have not been
We got all day, Tom.
It's hard when you're all by yourself.
I know.
Alrighty.
Are you feeling lonely up there?
I am, and we're going to rectify that shortly. Alrighty, hi, how you guys doing? My name's Tom Duggan here at the Paying Attention Podcast. Hi at Top Two Guys Smoke Shop at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. We have a great show for you today. It's going to be a little lighter than normal. Of course, we'll do our breaking news stuff at the open of the show, talk a little bit about some of the local things happening, and then when I'm done, we're going to take a very quick break. We're going to bring up Nina from Climate Design Systems, and she brought somebody with her. They have been as you can see in the front of the news desk. She's been sponsoring the show, and we always want to give. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, we always like to give free airtime to the people who help us pay the bills here. I mean, I pay outrageous amounts of money to rent a studio, and then I have to pay for Ed's salary, which is 3 times what I'm paying for the studio. So we need as many sponsors as we can, and I'll go through who our sponsors are throughout the show. I've learned the hard way not to list all the sponsors at the beginning, because we'll start off with 300 people watching, and it takes me 5 minutes to get through the sponsors. By the time I'm done, there's 5 people left, because they tune in to see content. They don't tune in to see me thanking sponsors.
Sprinkle them.
Yeah, so we'll do it throughout the show, and I've learned how to do that a little bit more. So we've got a lot of stuff going on. And by the way, when we're done with Nina at Climate Design Systems, we're going to have Joel Faretra, Methuen City Councilor. Nice. And he's not really here to talk politics. Like, we're going to try and get him to say some stuff about politics, but he's really here because he's our food critic at the Valley Patriot. And he became our food critic because during the election, I called Joel. He was a candidate, and I said, let's go out and have lunch and kind of talk about like where you stand on issues. And we went to Bada Bing's in Methuen. And I started to order something, and he said, no, you don't want to order that. What you want to order is, and it was the barbecue chicken, what did you call it, the barbecue chicken steak sub? And I said, barbecue chicken steak sub? There's no way that can be
Doesn't
good.
even make sense.
No. So, but I ordered it on his recommendation, and it was so good I ordered one to take home with me. That's how good it was. Whoa. So afterwards I was thinking, I said, screw all this political stuff. This guy's our foodie. This is a guy who knows food.
Did you guys talk any politics, or it was all food?
Well, it was mostly food, actually. We didn't really talk a whole lot about politics. Mostly he talked about what it was that he didn't like about me, which was good. Yep. Right? Like a couple things that happened in the past that he wasn't happy about.
I found people have no problem telling you what they don't like about you.
People come over to me randomly, like when I'm at the deli counter at Market Basket. They'd be like,
or at Borelli's.
Yeah. Are you Tom Duggan? I'm like, yeah, let me tell you what I hate about you. I'm like, okay, fine, listen, I'm just here to get my meats, but if you want to go off, that's fine. But we've been able to take what Joel is good at, which is food, and he writes our food column every month in the Valley Patriots. Now I think he's done 4, and when he comes up, we're going to talk about what some of those are.
So you're going over those 4 then?
Yeah, we're going to talk about those 4, and then we'll talk about what he's going to do in the future. Because one of the things that's important about doing a show like this or having a newspaper is trying to use that vehicle to help other local businesses. And if we're going to ask local businesses to support us, then we ought to be doing something to help them besides just like the sponsors that are here. Yep. So we have a great breaking story yesterday, Ed, and it caused a big kerfuffle in the city of Methuen. Steve Saber's not happy.
A kerfuffle?
Yeah, Steve Saber. I don't think Steve Saber likes me anymore. I think he used to like me, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't like me anymore.
I'm not sure he ever liked you much.
Well, no, here's what's funny. Him and his clan, with a K, like to circulate all these stories on Facebook about how Tom Duggan's opinion on Methuen should have no weight for anybody because he doesn't even live here. He doesn't live in Methuen. Why should he have an opinion on what's going on in Methuen? And what's funny about that, Ed, is that 2 years ago, I endorsed Steve Saber for city council.
And your opinion mattered.
And then nobody from the Saber clan came over and said, you shouldn't be endorsing Steve. You're from North Andover. How dare you? So, it's situational politics. It's, just say whatever sounds good in the moment. But he definitely doesn't like me anymore. And if he did, which we know he didn't, after yesterday's 2 stories, I'm pretty sure he doesn't anymore.
What have you done now?
So here's what happened. In 2018, the Methuen City Council had before them a group of citizens who were upset about a sober home going up in their single-family neighborhood. And by the way, I feel for them. I agree with them. You buy a house, you spend a lot of money, it's a single-family home, your property values are high, your taxes are high, and then all of a sudden somebody puts in a sober home in your neighborhood, and the residents didn't want it. Unfortunately, one of those residents was Steve Saber's brother, who was leading the charge and get up at the microphone and literally encouraged the city to abuse zoning laws to stop the rooming house, the sober house from going in. And when he was done at the microphone and admitted at the microphone that he was a neighbor of this property and that he had a personal interest in this property, his brother Steve, who's sitting as a city councilor, violated the conflict of interest laws and advocated for his brother's position from the council table. Now, I had people on Facebook say, yeah, but the Ethics Commission didn't fine him. Well, then not yet. I haven't filed my complaint yet, but it is going in, I promise you, because he sat there and he advocated for his brother instead of recusing himself, which is what he should have done. So here's what happens. The owner of the sober house sues the city of Methuen because of Steve Saber's comments, and a few other people's comments as well, saying that they were discriminating against the disabled. Those who are in recovery from addiction are, under the federal guidelines of the Fair Housing Act, considered disabled. So while you had councilors and members of the public, one of which is the councilor's brother, advocating that the building inspector and the community development director break the law and use zoning laws to stop this sober home from going in, she then took the transcript of all of those discussions and filed a gazillion-dollar lawsuit in court and said they're discriminating against the disabled, which, by the way, they are. As much as I feel for the neighbors, and I agree with them, I wouldn't want it in not my neighborhood either if it was a single-family home. And so what happens is the prior mayor, on his way out the door, negotiated an agreement, an out-of-court settlement for $48,000 to pay to the woman who owns the sober home for her to drop her lawsuit against the city. And he never signed it before he left. So the new mayor comes in and he evaluated the situation and decided to sign the agreement. And part of the reason, according to Mayor Perry, that he signed the agreement was that because of the comments that were made by Councilor Saber and others, that there was no way they were going to be able to win in court. Because they just spelled, like right on TV, they said right out loud that this is what they were trying to do. And so he signs the agreement. And of course, Jessica's all upset that they didn't tell her in advance, and she thinks she's the mayor. She thinks that they should tell her everything. Everything should go through her first, like she's supposed to be. But the bottom line is, you had here's the funny thing. One of Steve Saber's quotes. Yep. And I actually attached the video to the story when I posted the story yesterday, so nobody could say I was lying. He said, I know we're always worried about lawsuits when it comes to stuff like that, but this one I'm not afraid of. Well, yeah, because this one you didn't pay the $48,000 out of your flipping pocket. If you were paying the $40,000 out of your pocket, you might worry about it. Instead, the Methuen taxpayers had to pay for it. Now, there's talk that the woman who runs the sober house might sue him personally because of the conflict of interest issue, and because he basically dared her to sue. And he went to the mayor asking if the mayor would be interested in indemnifying the city councilors, which means if you sue the city councilor and the city councilor loses, the city pays that bill too. So what he wants to be able to get up and make discriminatory comments about the disabled. He wants to be able to get up and basically break the law and slander people. And when he gets called on it, the taxpayers will just pay for that. That's okay. He wants a free check, basically. He wants free reign to be able to slander anybody.
Don't you wish the taxpayers of Methuen would pay for your lawsuit?
Oh, are you kidding? That would be tremendous.
Actually, that's a possible outcome.
I should talk to Neil, right? We'll get him on the next show. We'll see maybe the Methuen taxpayers will pay for my lawsuits.
It's a possible outcome depending on how the suit goes.
I guess it could, right? Yeah. We're in negotiations now. I shouldn't be talking about my lawsuits.
Sorry, that was me.
But I will say, 5 lawsuits, never lost. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, it's caused a lot of of angst and problems in my life, but I've never lost. So now you have in the Monday night, you're going to have the Methuen City Council. Steve Saber went apparently to the mayor, asked for indemnification. My understanding is the mayor said no. So he's now putting it on the City Council agenda, and he's going to ask the council to give him indemnification so that he can slander people and not have to pay when he loses the lawsuit.
How does that work? Is the council the final say in it, or is it the mayor?
It's funny. It's a great question because I made phone calls last night for about an hour trying to get an answer to that question.
Yeah.
Is it that the council votes and then the mayor has to sign off on it, and then if he vetoes it, they need a 2/3 majority, or is it something that the mayor has to approve himself, or or it could be a home rule petition to the legislature, right? So we don't know what we don't know what
go anywhere.
No, we don't know what the process is going to be. All I know is no city councilor who's going to slander someone at a public meeting, who's going to attack the disabled at a public meeting and put the city's finances at risk, should himself be exempt from being at risk, because then what happens? He'd be slandering people at every meeting.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, of course. I mean, if you get a free pass, now there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
Like, I'll say one thing about Jessica Finicaro. She chooses her words very carefully and says often when she's speaking that, listen, I'd like to say more, but, there's lawsuit issues and I don't want to put the city at risk. And so she does choose her words carefully. But, I got to tell you, when it comes to Steve Saber, who's supposed to be the guardian of the taxpayers' money. That's how he promotes himself. He's the guardian of the taxpayers' money. He cost $48,000. And by the way, that's what we know of. We understand that there might be more, and so we're still digging into that, and we will find out. What else do we have for news? I think that's it. Let's take a quick. Do we have to take a break, or should we just bring them up?
I'll run it, and then
because then we'll have to do it again for Joel. So, are you saying you're not coming up now? Listen, the only reason I agreed to this is because she's so hot. I wanted her on my show.
Sure.
And she doesn't bring a woman with her. She brings a guy with her, and now she's saying, no, not me, him.
What?
So, I think this violates our agreement, actually.
We better go to break while you negotiate.
Yeah, I think we should do that. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have, hopefully, Nina from Climate Design Systems up here talking about, climate design stuff, HVAC stuff, and a whole bunch of other things. So we want to thank some of our sponsors, McLennan, Century 21. I think they're coming into the Valley Patriot as a Valley Patriot sponsor as well, starting next week, which would be phenomenal because I am going to marry Matt's mom at some point, Janet McLennan.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, that may have to happen. We also want to thank, who else do we have? I can't even remember. We'll do it when we come back.
Methuen Police.
Methuen Police Association and a whole bunch of others.
Officers
There's a bunch of them. We'll get to them when we come back, I guess. If while I'm driving around Lawrence, I get shot and killed, make sure you get my body to Perez Funeral Home because we do business with the people who do business with us. And he's on South Broadway with it's the old Scott Funeral Home. If you're an old-time Lawrence resident, it's the old Scott Funeral Home on South Broadway. Perez Funeral Home at 298 South Broadway in Lawrence. They do crematory services. They do all the stuff that they're supposed to do, right? And Mike's a big fan of the show. He followed us when we go live. He's an advertiser now in the print edition of the paper, and he's now sponsoring this program. Perez Funeral Home and Crematory Services, 298 South Broadway in Lawrence. We appreciate him. Fast. No, I was talking during that break. Was that the Perez?
That was indeed your very favorite break.
My very favorite break. They don't even pay for that anymore.
If I'm shot while driving around Lawrence.
No, the best was when we had the police chief here, and it never dawned on me that the police chief would be sitting here while that commercial was running. And it's running, and he turns to me, like his face goes white, and he goes, "Did you just say if you get shot while you're driving around Lawrence?" And I'm like, "Oh God, why did I give some thought to that before we started?"
I'm going to take partial credit. It didn't occur to me either. You said, "Run Perez." That's funny.
Yeah,
okay, let's do it.
Whatever, right? So we have. I'm sorry, his name is Tom
Pearson.
Pearson. It sounds exactly the same to me.
Yeah.
Tom Pearson. So Pearson, you're from Climate Design Systems. We love Nina. We wanted Nina on the show. That was like the whole deal here today.
And she chickened out, so she sends me up here.
And then she gives me these excuses like, "Oh, I don't feel good. My throat. No, my throat. So we've got you up. So tell me, what is Climate Design Systems? What is it? Is it a multinational company? Is it a local company? What are you guys? What are you guys?
So Climate Design's been around since 1946. We've been doing residential HVAC and commercial HVAC. Going in people's homes, doing boilers, furnaces, air conditioners. The whole 9 yards of both, new stuff and service. We'll go take care of people whose stuff breaks down in the middle of the night, and we'll go take care of, people building a new house. We'll go put in a whole new system for them.
Great.
Part of my job as a comfort advisor is kind of identifying what
comfort advisor.
I love that.
Yeah,
gotta love 2020.
Yeah, no, you can't say salesperson anymore.
Comfort advisor,
like a naughty word. So comfort advisor. So I'll go to people's homes, kind of evaluate what they need, what they like about their heat, what they like about their AC. Identify any like air quality issues they might have, and then just give them recommendations on the the types of systems that could improve. It's really a quality of life thing in your house.
So now this is for like private homes. Is it also for like businesses?
We do a little bit of both. My specialty is in the residential side, but we have a whole commercial side as well. They take care of.
Is it a different name? I think it's like
Merrimack Valley Corp is going to be doing all of the all the commercial stuff. You want
to give them as much free air time as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When you call up, it's better than Great Day at Climate Design Merrimack Valley.
I'm your comfort specialist.
Yeah, no, and I'm your comfort specialist.
Sounds like he sells mattresses.
Now I got a question. Do you have business cards?
It says comfort advisor.
Awesome.
I need one of those. Well, I got to get one that says Tom Duggan comfort advisor. You know how well I could use that? I'm single. I could use that when I'm dating.
You could comfort many
women. Yes. So you've got the two divisions. You've got the local division, which is Merrimack Valley Corp.
Well, I want to talk about the third division. We just had two. No, sorry. So we do, like I've talked about the HVAC, we just bought a plumbing company. So we're doing a full range of plumbing stuff now. Your kitchen sink's leaking, your toilet's leaking. We take care of that, those types of projects now too.
Great. So you've got the three, and so where are you? Are you like just in New England? Are you all over the country?
So we have the Merrimack Valley Corp, the parent corporation. We have 5 different locations. We're all up and down the East Coast. We have South Carolina, we have Long Island, we have Berkshire, Massachusetts, and then us in Methuen now.
We have a lot of listeners from South Carolina, by the way. That's actually true.
Over in where's Matt's in Greenville? Yeah, Greenville, South Carolina. We have we have another office. What's that? And then Riverhead, New York, and then Northampton, Massachusetts is Berkshire. But yeah, so we take care of anybody all up and down the East Coast. But we're taking care of mostly Merrimack Valley people over to southern New Hampshire. Now,
I don't know Buddy Thomas personally, but every single person that I mention Buddy Thomas's name to, they go, "He is the nicest guy in the world. He is the greatest guy in the world." And I didn't really know. I didn't know. Maybe I've met him once or twice. I just don't remember. But everybody that I talked to when I said I've got Climate Designs or I've got Merrimack Valley Corp advertising with us or sponsoring the show, they go, "Oh, Buddy Thomas, he's the best."
Yeah.
So when can we get him on the show?
No, absolutely. I've been working with Merrimack Valley since I was 15. My first job was out in the warehouse.
That was like 3 years ago?
3 years, exactly. So, out in the warehouse, Buddy has been such a great force, in my life, helping me, being a mentor, and he's great, great in the community too. Always helping people around Methuen, helping other businesses in the area, helping local kids with jobs. Shout out to any kid looking for, stable work. Come talk to us. We always have stuff to do.
Right. So now you're the salesperson. You go in, you make the pitch, and someone says, "Yeah, I'd like you to fix my heating system. I want you to fix my air conditioning system." What happens next?
So typically, if it's a replacement situation, I'll go in. I'll give them a couple different options for equipment. We use Lennox, as you can see, on the
Love
board
Lennox.
There. Fantastic brand. They provide all the stuff. I'll usually give different options in terms of efficiency, usually 3 different. Then I just try and help the customer pick which one of those is best for them.
So that's about efficiency, right?
Absolutely.
I get comfort either way. It's really just a question of how much the comfort costs me.
Typically, sometimes we can get into some of the higher end, some of the higher end furnaces has all the doodads with your phone. It'll track when you're actually driving within your house. So one of the cool features of the Lennox has an iComfort system. It'll actually GPS track your phone when you're within 5 miles of your house. It turns your furnace or air conditioner on.
Oh,
it's
nice.
like the coolest thing ever. It's like, one of those wild future 2020 things. You get into some of the fancier things that'll really like make the air in your house exactly how you want it. But it's a huge range of we have things that'll keep you hot and cool, and then there's stuff that'll suck the allergies out of the air, kill all the germs that are flowing through your house.
Coronavirus?
Yeah, coronavirus. No, exactly.
So.
No, they have UV bulbs that go in the filters, and it's like 99% of all germs get zapped right then and there. It's actually it was kind of eye-opening to me. I come from a software background. I went and did some training at Lennox. They showed me all these different, I'm thinking hot, cold, that's all you really care about. But it's really a range of, humidity, the allergens in your home, and then, the temperature that makes you super comfortable when you're sitting at home. Yeah.
So now you go, you make the pitch, they say this is what they want, you send the workers in, they fix the HVAC system. Is there a warranty? Is there a guarantee? Like a year and a half later, something goes wrong. Do they call you and say, "Hey, look, something went wrong," and it's guaranteed, warranted?
Or? Typically, yeah. So absolutely, Lennox provides manufacturer warranty on all the parts, and then we end up doing we give a service contract with everything we do. We don't want you to call us up and we're going to stand behind the work we do. So you get a 5-year service contract. When we sit there, come back every once a year, make sure everything's working, make sure your AC in the spring, heater come November, make sure that's running right. And then, you get that 24/7 service during those 5 years. Parts are all covered during that time.
24/7 service is really important. I'm a late night guy, and I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning. When something happens, and Nina will tell you because we're on the phone sometimes at 3 in the morning, and something happens sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning, I want to get a hold of a real flipping person. And so if I had a problem, like I had a problem with my bank statement, and I looked at my bank statement online and it was wrong, and I called the 800 number, and I'm not going to say which bank it was, and I got a recording saying I had to call my actual branch bank the next morning, and I was furious. Yeah. I'm up at 3 in the morning. If I'm up at 3 in the morning and I need service from somebody I'm doing business with, damn well they better be up too.
Yeah, and so actually what you get is after hours, it's a direct. It goes right to our technician who's on call cell phone.
That's awesome.
He gets a ring. He's out. Doing whatever. He's on. He's on call. He's ready for people's work. He gets it right to his cell phone. He talks to you right there. Hey, I'll be out in half hour, and shows up at your house.
So here's what we do. You give me his number. And then the next time at 3 in the morning I need a coffee, I'll call him. Exactly. I go, listen, I need a coffee. And I know you're just sitting around doing nothing waiting for a phone call.
Well, coffee is important to your comfort.
To my comfort,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
I need a comfort specialist.
It's a part of the whole package.
Yeah. She looks so cute. I can't believe she's not up here. It's really pissing me off. So we have another sponsor. We have another advertiser, Marsan and Son Roofing. And so what I like to do a lot, see, now she put her hair down, now I'm in love. And so one of the things that I like to do, and it's worked really well in the past with a lot of the people that I do business with, is marry the people that I'm doing business with. So we've got Marsan and Son, and they go out and they fix roofs. I would love to partner them up with you guys, because when you're in there doing HVAC stuff, the person might need a new roof too.
Yeah.
And you could use it as an upsell. If you guys were working together, if they're in doing a roof and they say, hey, the guy might need an HVAC system, I'd love to have Roddy Marsan from Marsan and Son get in touch with Nina or get in touch with you and work some kind of a business. So you guys, and again, by the way, I make no money out of any of this.
Do you get a solar panel guy too? I think that could all.
We used to. We had Ace Solar, but they bailed on us. Do you have a solar person?
Nice.
Okay. So yeah, so one of the things I'd love to marry you guys together and have you guys make money on each other. And then that way, I get no money out of it, but at least I can say, hey, look, I put them together and everybody's making money off my
efforts. You're just a matchmaker.
I am. I'm really good at that too.
Yeah. Comfort advisor.
I have three friends that are married because of my matchmaking.
Really?
That's actually true, yeah.
No divorces thus far?
Not yet. No.
Right.
No. So how do people get in touch with you, or how do people get in touch with Climate Design Systems, Inc. or Merrimack Valley Corps?
So there's 2 ways really to get in touch with us. We got a website, climatedesignsystems.com. There's a WordPress on there. It asks you, a couple simple questions about your house. It gives me a little bit of information. So when I'm calling you to talk about the project, I have a little bit of information. So I'm not just calling you blind. You can also give us a call, anytime during the office hours. We're open from 7:30 to 5 every day, 978-689-8312. Somebody will pick up. They'll get you to the right department, whether it be service, whether it be commercial, whether it be plumbing, whether it be you need to talk to a comfort advisor. They'll take care of you there.
I've also got a friend that does heating and HVAC stuff. Al Velo, who donated $1,000 for our scholarships today, and I appreciate that. He gave us $500 for our Whittier scholarship and $500 for our vocational scholarship. And he's just like a single guy that does, he has people that work for him, but he's just like a guy, right? Well, he doesn't have a lot of money, so I'd love to marry them up too.
You're finding a lot of the local people who can use the talent from the vocational schools are donating to those scholarships.
That's true. Yeah. So I'd love to marry Al with you guys too, because I think, listen, a rising tide lifts all boats. And if the people I'm doing business with, people you're doing business with, can do business with each other, then everybody wins. Except me, of course. Everybody else wins.
Well, you get to see Nina.
I get to see Nina, and believe me, that's way better than the $100,000 you guys are going to make doing business with each other.
Somehow, Tom, in spite of all the good you do, you're never the guy who wins.
No, I know. You're right. We did a whole show on that, right? So, all right, let's take a quick break again. We only have that one Perez Funeral Home. We don't have another isolated one, do we?
Well, it looks like we got Angelo, Twin Lights.
Yeah, you want to do just Angelo and then cut it at the end of Angelo? Can you do that?
I don't know.
All right, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, because I'm not sure how much is in there, but we're all going to find out together.
All right, and as we go to our next break, I want to thank AFC Urgent Care. I spoke with Lisa Williams. She's coming to the Bash. She's going to be donating to the Bash this year. She's an incredible woman. She actually went up and bought me a suit at Macy's. She said she was watching the video of the Bash last year. My suit looked a little tight. So she said, I went up and I bought you a suit at Macy's. All you have to do is go up and get fitted. And I was like, wow, this lady's the best.
Did you go get fitted?
Not yet. I'm going to do it this weekend. I also want to thank the Police Superior Officers Union in Methuen, Ron Marsan and Son Construction, Horizon Home Care, which is coming in officially starting next month. We'll give you a free plug. And my favorite, Borelli's Deli, where I'm going for food after this. But I think Nina and I are going to go for some deli meats after this. We can. Back after this on the Paying Attention Podcast. Hi, it's up. Two Guys Smoke Shop at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. A&M Auto Body. We got our friend Angelo over there. Angelo Memolo over there. He does great work on your car. So if you got a ding in your car, somebody hit you, you got a mechanical problem, you bring it to A&M Auto. He's on South Broadway in Lawrence on Inman Street. Angelo will take care of you. So what's the address there?
341 South Broadway, Lawrence, Massachusetts.
I don't know why these guys love me so much. I really don't. But Twin Lights, let me tell you how dedicated I am to helping with and stuff. Whenever you cut it in like that, just say stuff.
And stuff adds a lot to any conversation.
Anyway. So this part of the Paying Attention Podcast could end up going really, really well.
Or
it could be a complete abortion like the last show we did with Political TNT. We're gonna find out. We have with us Joel Faretra. He's a Methuen City Councilor. He is our foodie at the Valley Patriot. Before we get into the foodie stuff, my readers would kill me if I didn't at least ask you something political. So you got elected to the City Council in November, and you had an idea, I'm sure, because I ran and I had the same idea of what it was going to be like when you won. And then you got in. And I'm pretty sure whatever you had in your head was nowhere near what it turned out to be. So can you talk about that a little bit, going from a private citizen to a city councilor, and what you found that surprised you once you got in?
Being places and being recognized.
Oh, yeah?
I guess, I don't blend in well. So, council, how you doing? Hey, what's up? And just going different places, and then I guess I didn't realize the amount of behind the scenes stuff that was necessary in order to hopefully do my job as well as people entrust me to do it.
Right.
The amount of phone calls, the amount of emails and documents, and you're going through and trying to get the questions, and then meetings with department heads and trying to really get that information before making those choices. Maybe I had a slight idea that it would be a lot, but I really didn't have an idea it'd be as much. You didn't know
how bad it was going to really be.
No, and exactly, and amazingly, it seems like I've stayed out of the fray on Facebook. Yeah. It's one thing. Our first meeting here, I introduced myself. We didn't know each other. You're like, hey, you might want to take those pictures down of you in your Superman outfit.
Right. Yeah.
And
he was like, screw that. I am who I am. And I was like, I like this guy.
Right. But right now, it seems like so much of it is done on social media, and it's really not benefiting. It's like a middle school bus at this point, where everyone's just yelling at each other, and there's really not much.
It's good for me. It's great for me. It's great for business, but it's not great for the city. It's one of the things that Mayor Neil Perry asked when he first got elected. Let's not do everything on Facebook. Let's talk to each other. Let's have open communication. And it really kind of hasn't worked out that well. Since you've come on, what are the things that you've been pleasantly surprised about?
Just getting to know some of the other councilors that I had no idea about in the past. I've become really good friends with DJ Beauregard.
Really?
Yeah,
he's a good guy to hang out with.
He is, and he's very knowledgeable, and he's going to tell you exactly what he's thinking, and has been really helpful in some of that stuff. I think you think you know people, and then maybe as you get into this, maybe
someone warned you. By the way, you don't have to mention any names, but someone did warn you.
But for the most it's been positive.
Yeah.
You know, I'm enjoying it. You know, sometimes the meetings get a little drawn out, and I'm sure my expressions, you stream them live, I'm sure you can see the eye rolls and the head in the palm, like, oh, it's 10:30 at this point, and we're just beating our heads against the wall.
One of the things that I like about you is that there are some councilors that have to talk on every single issue. And they've got to be the expert on every single issue. And they've got to drone on and on about every single issue. And then there are councilors like you and DJ who don't speak on every issue, but then when you do speak, people actually shut up and listen because you speak so seldom that, like, okay, now I have something to say. Yeah. People are actually interested in, I think people at home are actually interested in hearing what you have to say.
I vowed, we had that, a training the other night with the Inspector General, and I was talking to Ali Safi, and I think her and I are in the same boat, that Jimmy McCarty will never have to use his timer on me.
Right.
I will never get to the 10 minutes. If I can't get out my point in 5 or less minutes, it doesn't matter because nobody's paying attention anymore.
Right.
So.
And I will say in full disclosure, even though we're on the opposite sides of things these days, Jessica and I, Jessica may talk a lot, but she brings up a lot of points that nobody thought of, and she brings up a lot of things that nobody considered. And she may use 20 paragraphs to say it when she could probably use 3, but the points that she's making, I think, need to be focused on more because, again, even though I disagree with her on her conclusions on some stuff, she's at least going through every document. She's at least talking about the issues. She's at least doing it. I just wish when you get 9 people, everybody could kind of like pare it back a little bit. You know, she's not the only one that talks on every topic. There are other councilors that talk on every topic, and when you've got 9 people trying to get through a meeting, that gets tough.
I agree, but I know there are some things that come up, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that angle.
Right. Yeah.
But we gotta just speed it up a little bit. I think after 3.5 hours at a meeting, I think people start losing focus. Not just ourselves, but people at home, people in the audience. They're really not paying attention that much anymore either.
So let me ask you a loaded question, and we'll talk about food.
Yeah.
So there is I believe it's on the next agenda. The city councilor wants the city council still. Steve Saber wants the city council to indemnify him and maybe others in case they get sued personally for their misdeeds at the council table. What do you think about that?
So I think this was going forward, and I feel that if you're acting in the best interest of the city, you shouldn't be concerned. Like, so fine, we'll indemnify ourselves. I know there's also protections in the city charter already on top of that, but, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, it shouldn't come into play, Right. So making sure that when things do come up, that if you're, whether it's recusing yourself or making sure that, people know if there are conflicts, any of that stuff, I think, and just making sure that, when speaking on the floor, that you're respectful and and stick to facts instead of making it personal.
Gotcha. All right. I think that was an answer. I think that was a no, right? It was kind of a no.
I think it was, if you do the right thing, don't worry about it.
Right.
But if they're doing the wrong thing,
I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it. You're going to know how I stand on stuff. And, I may screw up, but I'm going to own it. And hopefully I don't do that on the floor to the point where it gets to that.
Well, there's a difference between mistakes and maliciousness. And I think city councils are already indemnified under the charter for making mistakes. But there's an exemption to that. There's an exception to that, and that's when it's malicious or when you're doing things like, attacking disabled people, and then it becomes a little different, and then you are liable personally. And I know Steve wants himself and maybe other councilors to be off the hook for that and have the taxpayers pay for it if they get sued.
But I believe it's Councilor DeZoglio and Councilor McCarty are the ones who have put this forward. So Steve's not part of the two that have put it forward.
Yeah, and let me just say in full disclosure, that really means very little because we all know that Steve had them do it, so it wasn't his name on it. Like, I mean, everything he does is when he attacked me about that whole thing 2 years ago that over the police, he had his family on it. He wasn't on Facebook attacking me. He had his family on Facebook attacking me. And when he wanted indemnification, he sent Jim McCarty into the mayor's office with him to ask for indemnification. He wasn't going to do it himself. So, I mean, he can claim he's got his hands off that it's McCarty and DeZoglio, but we all know what it is.
Okay, I haven't. Well, I just know he's one of the councilors who haven't spoken to me about it.
All right, let's get the food. Let's get the food because that's the real reason we got you here.
All right.
So we brought you in as our Valley Patriot food columnist, and I'm getting, by the way, a lot of good feedback from people in the community on it and on Facebook.
Yeah. My daughter came home from school today. I told her I was coming here. She's like, "Oh, my teacher loves the column." She's like, "She loves the beards," and that's the So it is hitting a lot more people than I thought it would, and that's great.
So for those at home who haven't read it yet, he goes into a restaurant, he reviews the food and the service, and then he will rate you up to 1 to 5 beards. Yeah. And so I think the last one was, and I want to talk about them a lot, is the Miller's Tavern.
Right.
Was the last one you did. So I went to Miller's Tavern maybe about a month ago with the Janas. And of course, if you're going to go anywhere, you got to go with the Janas because they're just so much fun. And the food was amazing. The appetizers were amazing. The meal, though, that came out wasn't really up to my expectation. Like everything up until the meal came, it was great. And then the meal came and there were issues and like whatever, they're brand new. So you chalk it up to them just being brand new. And then I read your column and you said almost exactly the same thing that I did. And I was like, well, again, we're on the same page. I love this.
Yeah. So I found out they did a soft opening. They didn't announce it really publicly. So I found out they opened that day. My wife and daughter, we went there for dinner and it had those, couple issues. Wait staff was new, so there were issues with that. Like, didn't get silverware with the appetizers, but I was pleasantly surprised by the food. The appetizers, my wife got the pretzels; those were really good. I got wings; they were all right. I really liked the mac and cheese, the pulled pork mac and cheese. So I'm like, all right, we'll definitely give it another shot. A couple nights later, we went out for drinks. Same thing, just issues with service, but they were getting better every time. And then the mayor and I went out the next week and went out and got the Irish nachos and a couple of drinks.
Right. The Irish nachos are great.
Like
that's a whole meal in and of itself.
Him and I couldn't finish them. And that, as some of your viewers may have said the other night, I'm not a small guy. Right. They may have noticed that. But, and the fact that two of us couldn't finish that and we were sitting there at the end of the night, like, oh man. And then the service was really good that night. Yeah. So
the service has gotten much better.
I agree. And I think when a place opens like that, you can't be too critical on service. You're training all new staff for the most part. I know they're out of Essex, I think, is the restaurant chain. Like this, they own a couple other restaurants. And I think if you go into a restaurant, if you hold service against somebody after you go in one time, I feel like you're really not doing them a service. If the food's good, but service, bad night, it's a crapshoot. You get a good waitress, you get a new person, you don't know what's going on. So I think, people that were upset about the Brick House before that was the service was fine first, then the service went downhill, right. And then everything else kind of fell apart with that.
What was weird about Brick House is I used to drive by it all the time. It was always empty.
Right.
And I drive by Miller's Tavern, and they haven't changed anything on the inside at all other than their menu and the staff. And it's always full. Like every time I drive by, the parking lot is full. So they're doing something right.
Right. I feel like that it's been more, everything I see online has been more positive.
Right.
I know there's a Facebook page, Merrimack Valley Eats, and I think like for the first week and a half that it was open, it was all about Miller's Tavern. Mm. And I think the community is really looking for something to last in that location and be a draw. And right now, I feel like it's trending in the right direction.
Right. Do you ever eat outside of Methuen?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I can't accept that answer because from the people on Facebook who saw me and Neil Perry, I got whacked by the Onion. Which, by the way, is gone now. They're defunct.
I saw that.
I got whacked by the Onion saying that, they actually whacked Neil saying that when Neil and Tom Duggan are out at Orzo's in North Andover, he should be in Methuen. Shouldn't he be eating him? Like, he should never leave the entire city, like, ever, because he's the mayor.
I don't eat Italian often, but the best Italian restaurant I've found up here is Trattoria Alfalfa on 28.
Really?
We're H&R Block. It's best Italian. So am I not supposed to eat Italian ever again? Because that's in Salem?
No, I think according to people on Methuen Sound Off, you're never supposed to leave the city limits of Methuen. You have to put every money that you have in the city of Methuen. Otherwise, you're a bad person.
Well, I'm a big craft brewery guy, so they're going to be very disappointed because there's not one in Methuen. And I was in Lowell a couple weeks ago, hit a couple of those. I go to Oak and Iron in Andover. You got Backyard. So there's a bunch in the area, but unfortunately there's none in Methuen. So
now we talked about Miller's Tavern, which is a little different because they're a brand new business. Let's talk about one of the other businesses that you went to that is an established Methuen business, and we can do any of them because you've done 4 now.
Right. So I think Bada Bing is I'm in there way too much, but just the menu. I feel like they're very consistent. You know what you're getting. Like their white buffalo chicken pizza might be my favorite pizza in the whole.
You mentioned
valley.
that during the debates,
right? They have a white buffalo chicken, just real. No sauce on it, which is great. The wings have been better. They have a sweet Asian chili wings now, which Good, they have a special now. Like
anything with chili in it, I'm in. I'm in. If there's chili, I'm in.
So, and then the subs that when you and I met and had the lunch,
that was just so good.
The buffalo chicken cheesecake. They have, their steak and cheese. I think I did the review on the steak bomb was the one, which is something I never had there before. But I was there for lunch. The bread was fresh. It was really good. And then just it's a smaller place. They've started doing some more stuff now. They do trivia on Wednesday nights. And John and the staff there have been so good to the community in Methuen. They're really helpful with the boosters. They're a sponsor of a lot of the other youth organizations as well, and they really give back to the community.
Yeah.
So.
And I love the people that work there. Every time I go in, there's a new person, but I know that person too. And I go in and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you were working here." And it's good. It's good to see them. When you go into a place like Bada Bing, despite the fact that you know them, despite the fact that you're there a lot, when you go into a place to review them, what are you looking for? If there's a restaurant out there that's watching, and they're thinking, okay, he might be coming to my place next. Give them a preview. What is it that you're looking for? What do you take points off for? What do you add points for? Or beards, I should say.
Right. I was just thinking, it's not like Joel is the Phantom. They know when he comes.
I'm coming in. There's only the Bada Bing so far has been the only place that has recognized me after I've come back. Went back after the review.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that was legit. I've been to Royal a couple of times afterwards. I don't think they haven't recognized me. And I go to Chris's. I live right around the corner from that. But I'm not really looking for what I'm just going to order my food. If I'm like, all right, I'm reviewing, so like when I did the steak sandwich, I knew I was reviewing it and I just, kind of took it home or I ate it there and I'm like, all right. And then just kind of digested it a little bit and thought about it and just compare or contrast or just, really, dig into the menu. So that was the good thing about Miller's Tavern when I did that review. And I may start doing that review that way more instead of doing multiple restaurants. I really got to dig into it.
Right.
You mentioned like the beer list at Miller's Tavern and the different types of appetizers and the different plates, where instead of going like when I did the 3 subs or that kind of, I'm like, oh, all right. It
was light on content.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I go in there, I have an idea what I'm, so I've done 2 different types. I like the Miller's Tavern one because I was able to really expand and go, hey, all right, let me try this now. Let me try that. And then, I lean on the wife a little bit. When she comes out with me, she gets something. So I'll, have that, piece as well to go, hey, what did you think about this? And we can order more and really have it, dig into the menu a little deeper.
So I eat out at least 3 or 4 nights a week or 3 or 4 days a week. And usually I'm meeting because I need to talk to someone, right? It's usually like a business thing or I'm meeting an elected official or we've got things to discuss. So normally I'm ordering a lot of appetizers and then I'll order a meal and most times I just take it home because I'm so full from the appetizers. So I generally will rate a place based on their appetizers. If the appetizers are really good, even if the meal's not that great and the service isn't that great, I'm always going to go back.
Right.
And vice versa. If I go and the appetizers aren't that good, but the meal is phenomenal and the service is phenomenal, I'm probably not going back. Because I want the finger food while I'm talking, while I'm getting business done, while I'm doing. And you're a city councilor, you probably do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat where I can't remember the last time I've left a restaurant without food. You know what I mean? Like so if I'm at Bada Bing, I'm getting the chip.
Can you imagine how much food he had to order to bring food home? Wow. Can you imagine?
Ouch.
Sorry.
Well, no, but so at Bada Bing, they have the popcorn there; it's available, and then you get the wings, and now all of a sudden you get a sub, and I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm finishing that. Right. It's lunch for the next day. Right. But the appetizers do make it. There's nothing more. It sets the tone. So if you go to a place that's bad appetizers, and now you're like, oh, those weren't good. Right. So you're already you've already got a strike against them, and now when your meal comes, you're like, I don't even know. And then you're like, all right, you might not even take it home at that point. You might just say, no, you know what? I'm all set.
I had the seafood casserole at Miller's Tavern the last time. I've been there 4 times. And the last time I had the seafood casserole, I was very disappointed. But it didn't matter that I was disappointed because I was so damn full from the Irish nachos, the regular nachos, and the hot wings that it was like, you know what? I was expecting a little bit more lobster, a little bit more scallop, and I didn't get it. But again, it didn't matter because I was so full anyway.
Right. Like there was the same thing when I had my meal there. We got the Bavarian pretzels and we got the wings. I got the pulled pork mac and cheese, and it was really good. But once again, I ended up taking it home. Right. But, it set the tone. The wings were good, not great. But, I think wings are a tough.
Who has the best wings in the Merrimack Valley? Because I'm a big hot wing fan. I'm a big hot wing guy. And it's hard to find good hot wings. Most places, they just get frozen, and they throw Tabasco sauce on it, or they throw some pre-sauce on it.
So 2 places, I think Sparky's in Haverhill.
Absolutely.
Has great wings. And there's a burger place in a sauce. It's called Sauce. They have burgers and stuff there. I've always liked that place. I've been there a few times. Stuff like that. And then I haven't been since they changed owners, but Balducci's in 28 in Salem always had good wings, and they served it with like a couple pieces of bread, so that way you'd be able to soak up the sauce afterwards. Right. Which I thought was a nice mix. So like you'd have the wings and there'd be pieces of bread in the bowl. Right. And that way you're like, all right, well, there's extra sauce.
Nothing really beats Sparky's. I was actually talking about in Methuen, but nothing beats Sparky's because they have 100 different types of hot wings, and you can't even imagine like how could you get 100 different types, but they actually do.
It's almost confusing. Yeah. It's like, okay, what do I want?
So I went in. I was watching the Phantom Gourmet one day, and it was a rerun, and they were highlighting Sparky's wings. Yep. And they were talking about the peanut butter and jelly hot wings, and I thought, there's no way that can be good. Like, there's just no way peanut butter and jelly buffalo wings. How do you make that taste good? So I went in and I did. Like 2 days later, I drove to Sparky's in Haverhill, and I went in and I ordered I ordered it to stay because I figured I was going to eat the first one, not like it, order something else, and go home. Instead, I ate the first one that I got, ordered another one, ate the second one, and then took two to-go-home plates of peanut butter and jelly hot wings because they were that good. And it sounds as gross can be, and yet when you taste it, it's amazing.
Yeah, I've never had the peanut butter. I've been scared. I'm not a jelly guy, so like I'm a peanut butter and Nutella or peanut butter and just fluff. But I'm not, so I never tried those. But another place I like, there's none around here, is Tremonti's Pizza in Lowell and Kingsborough. Yeah. They have like a spring roll platter, like for their appetizers. Mm-hmm. So you get chicken parm spring rolls. There's cheeseburgers, spring rolls. There's pizza ones. So it's like little things like that are a little different. I'll travel to go to places like that are really a little bit out of a little bit different, but really good as well. And they have a great beer menu. So
I had the hot wings when we went to Giovanni's the day I don't think you reviewed that day. I think you reviewed a different day. And
I did that. That was my first column. Okay. Yeah. So what we did, that was the roast beef. Right. I got the roast beef. I know you got the wings and a sub, and
I was somewhat impressed with the wings.
Yeah,
because it had a different taste. It didn't taste like every other hot wing everywhere else you go.
Right, and I think that saved the meal. Like everything else was kind of boring, but the wings are kind of what elevated it to where it ended up being.
Right. Now, have you done?
Tom, I gotta say, Joel's dead on with Sauce in Andover. It's a great little spot. They make the burgers are good.
Yep.
The fries actually are fantastic there, and they make a good hot wing. I think Tom Duggan might enjoy it.
Yeah. Little hole in the wall, you have to be going. I think you have to kind of go there.
Yeah, the parking can be kind of hokey at lunchtime, but it's good.
So where in Andover is that?
Andover, library area.
I think so. Yeah, I'm not from.
Is it over by the depot? I know there's like 2 or 3 places by the depot.
I'm gonna get that information for you.
So in Methuen, are there favorite places you like to go to get wings?
If I'm I really don't order them that much. Hold on.
You strike me as a hot wing kind of guy.
If I'm going out, it's Bada Bing is one place that I'll get them from, and especially when I'm there. Usually, every time I'm getting them as an appetizer. But for the most part, I'm not getting them that much. Mm-hmm. But every once in a while, like for the Super Bowl or games like that, I'll, do a big order from Sparky's and bring them over and do that.
Another place that has
it's on Essex Street.
Oh, okay. So that's
you
right
go
by the
downtown
depot.
and then Yep.
One of the places, and you wouldn't think of this as a place that has good hot wings, but one of the places in Methuen that has great hot wings. Forgive me if I get it wrong. Is it Mexico Lindo? Is that the place down the old Red Tavern?
Yep. So Mexico Lindo. So that's the one like up in the back. Like if you're coming out of the center square, it's kind of tucked in the back.
Right.
Like I feel like for me, like that's my favorite place to eat Mexican in Methuen.
Right.
Like if I'm going to eat, that's where I'd want to go. If I'm going to drink, I'm going to Azteca.
Right. So now for roast beef, what's better, Royal House of Roast Beef in Methuen? Or Harrison.
Royal.
I didn't even finish the question yet.
Right.
Royal House roast beef, the best, right?
I really like the meal is huge. Yeah. So many French fries, it's ridiculous. I like, I get my roast beef with extra sauce. They don't disappoint. It's really good. A little bit of a kick to it with the sauce. The onion rings are good. It comes with the onion rings, the fries, and then the salad, which I should probably eat that more of, but I usually pass that one off. But I think Royal hands down is my favorite place in the Valley to go. If I'm home, I'm from Everett originally, so Mike's roast beef. Kelly's was in the day. I feel like it's just the name at this point,
right?
Especially once you expand, So once when Kelly's was down, the beach, and I had my '87 Hyundai with the base tube in the back, and we'd drive down Revere Beach, and we'd get a roast beef sandwich, and you'd duck the seagulls who were trying to steal stuff from you. That was the play to go. But once you expand to 4 or 5, 6 different restaurants, I feel like the things go down well.
Right.
And we had a discussion earlier today on Jason Marcou's page, one of your sponsors, that Methuen Politics page, talked about Chinese food, and the Kowloon came up. Like if Chinese, there's the Kowloon for Chinese food, and then there's everything else underneath it. You can't even compare it. Right. So and I feel like that's a place that did it right. They didn't expand. They didn't go to 4 or 5 different restaurants. They did some improvements in house. They added some patios and they have a food truck or whatever. But it's still the main restaurant that's been there.
Right. The
Wongs have owned that thing since before I was born.
So
and
Tom Duggan, you should go there sometime with Dave Garofalo. I went there.
Yeah.
And he says, well, can I order for the table? Everybody said, sure. He pulled out a laminated card from his wallet with his order at Kowloon. He gave it to the waiter, and the waiter said, you have more people coming. Dave said, no. Too much food. And Dave said,
ordered too much food for a whole restaurant.
Right. And Dave said, well, what should I skip then? You don't need this. Yeah, we're having that. You don't need that. We're having that.
I'm not a big Chinese food guy, only because to me, Chinese food basically tastes the same no matter where you go. They've got the exact same menu no matter where you go. Every once in a while, you find a place that's got, Chinese food that's a little, excuse me, that's a little bit better than the others.
See, my sense is you'd probably like to go to more of a hole-in-the-wall Chinese Szechuan place, right? That puts some heat in there.
Yeah.
You like the heat.
Well, I started, this would be a great place for you. I've been going on my lunch dates for the last few weeks to lots of eats in North Andover. It's a Thai place. And it's across from the Barker Farm. It's like up on 125.
Yep, okay.
Right after the loft on the right-hand side. They just built it maybe about 6 months ago. Amazing. Because everything's hot. It's Thai. So everything's hot. Everything's hot and spicy. And I love hot and spicy because I'm a smoker. So it's hard for me to taste my food sometimes.
So you need that kick in order to...
keep smoking, Tom.
So there is a new restaurant coming to Methuen that I'll probably review next month. It's called Mummy's Pho.
Okay.
So it's going to Ayers Village Road. So I'm not a huge pho guy, but I'm going to give it a shot. I've heard great things about it. So it seems like there's more of a variety of restaurants now coming in. I guess the old 1859 house is Wayo's Grill. So that's coming. So it seems like there's different types of food now coming and give a lot of people options, which is great. I think that's what Methuen needs.
Well, can I go back to Miller's Tavern for a minute? Yeah. One of the things that I actually was surprised at Miller's Tavern, I ordered my appetizer, then I ordered my meal. And then she came to me while I was waiting for my meal and said, by the way, with your meal, you get the salad bar. I had no idea there was a salad bar.
I haven't seen them in forever. Salad bars were prevalent, but they seem to have went away.
Right. And I love salad bars because they always have like those ingredients that you never get on a salad, but everyone likes like bacon bits. So you got like a whole bunch of bacon bits on it and you don't have to skimp. And I was surprised by that because I can't remember the last time I saw a salad bar.
I think the last one I remember was probably like Ruby Tuesdays.
Right.
Like 10, 15 years ago. But, but that was, I was shocked when I went in that first time. Like, oh, it's a salad bar. And I think people's mindset has changed towards like, oh my God, that's a salad bar. I don't want to go anywhere near it.
Right.
Coronavirus, we're all going to die.
Right.
But I've heard a lot of people had great things about that salad bar, the options, and it was really good. So I think it's it's something different.
When you go out to eat with the wife or with a politician to do business, what's your favorite entree? Are you a steak guy? Are you a fish guy? Are you a pasta guy?
I'm a sandwich guy. So I'll get a burger, I'll get a pulled pork, I'll get something like that. Or I'm not a big pasta guy. Especially, if I'm going to go eat Italian, for the most part, I'm going home. Calling mom and all right, I'm going to come home and eat. But seafood, I'm picky about. I only go to a couple places to eat seafood. One of the places is the Irish Cottage. Like their fish and chips has been.
Irish Cottage.
Their fish and chips is great. I think that's when I go there and I get tunnel vision. So if I go to a place and I find something I like, I don't very often.
Right.
All right, I'm getting the Celtic nachos at the Irish Cottage that are made with their homemade potato chips.
By the way, that is probably the best nachos anywhere at the Irish Cottage because they make them there. It's not like they buy a bag of stuff and then throw it on.
The chips are still warm when they come out.
Yeah, they hand make the chips, which makes them awesome.
Right. So
and Colley's the best.
Yes, he is, and a lot of the. once again, a lot of Methuen kids work there, kids that I've known throughout the years. They're busting tables and, and all that. And like, hey, coach, hey, how's it going? But
by the way, they have good wings there, too. They're good at their nachos. They're good at their wings. I don't know what their entrees are because I don't think I've ever had like an entree there.
Right.
Because I go and I just order 4 or 5 different appetizers. We get a bunch of people. We just sit and we talk.
Right.
But they are phenomenal.
Right. Yeah. I like, so I'm a sandwich guy for the most part.
Right.
So.
Are we off? Lloyd? No.
Well, I would have to look. You would know better than I.
I looked up and all I saw was the wall with the bullet hole in it.
I mean, we're still streaming.
We're still streaming. Okay. So we've got about, like 5 minutes left. Strike fear into the hearts of 2 or 3 restaurant owners and tell us where you're going to be going next and what you're going to be reviewing next.
So I had an idea, and I was venturing outside of Methuen for this one. I went for Christmas. My wife Heather got me a brew kit up in Credit Brew in Nashua, so I brewed my own beer. A red ale called Bearded.
I gotta hang out with this guy more often.
We named it Bearded Glory, and I had me in a red, white, and blue flag suit with the stripes and stars. It was awesome. So I went to a bunch of breweries, and I was going to do a craft brewery review of the places in the area. The Spigot River in Lawrence. I have Oak and Iron, Merrimack, and Navigation and Lowell, and I was going to review those. But then we got into a huge discussion today about Chinese food online. So I'm thinking I'm going to hold off on that. And I think I'm going to do, I'm going to do a Wasang column.
Okay.
I'm going to do Wasang.
We deliver there, so that's good. We like Wasang.
So that's going to be my column this month. It's going to be Wasang. Okay. So it's the family's favorite place for takeout when we do Chinese takeout in Methuen. If I go out, I like Fusion House or I like Yang Ming down the street.
I went to Fusion House and I had a very, very bad experience. The sushi was not that good. The service was absolutely horrible. And I went online and said, I'm never going to come back here. I had a horrible experience. And I had a bunch of people jump on and say, I'm friends with the owner, give them another shot. And I didn't really want to hurt their feelings and say, this is my 3rd time there and it's the same experience. So I am going to give them 6 more months and I'm going to go back and see if maybe it's a little bit better. But how many Chinese food places are there in Methuen?
So there's Wasang, there's Chef Co. There's Fu Hing, which I think is down off of Jackson Street. So those are your takeout places.
Right.
Then you have those are the 3 I can think of off the top of my head. And you have Lucky Dragon across the street. You have Tasty Garden. That's the one. Lucky Dragon is the one right on the
Lucky Dragon's been there since I was in high school.
Right. That's the one on the Methuen-Lawrence line.
Right.
When I first moved up here, that was the first place we went to, and it just kind of went downhill. And then had a bad experience at Chef Co. like 10 years ago. Never went back. The whole family ended up sick.
Yeah,
but
we went to the Dragon the night of our class play when I was in high school. We had a class play, and then we all went out there afterwards. And the food was great, but we were the only ones there. Like literally, we were the only ones there. And I can't imagine it's much different now. Although they're still in business, so they've got to be doing something. They're doing well.
I think what you said earlier is kind of when you do Chinese takeout. A lot of those places are kind of the same, but there's a quality piece to it, so you can tell if the stuff is somewhat fresh as compared to just, kind of nuked and thrown at you.
Right.
And one thing I don't like to do anymore is get Chinese food on New Year's Eve.
Oh, yeah, because
it's just mass produced for like 3 days.
Right.
Hey, I'm going to pick up my order at 6. Well, at 4 o'clock, it's ready. It's sitting in a bag somewhere.
Right.
And then inevitably it's missing 1 or 2 things, and then there's no way you're getting back there, and they overcharge you anyway on New Year's Eve.
I'm lucky because I live in downtown North Andover. And within throwing distance is about 100 restaurants from where I am.
Right.
And we've got, right up the street, we've got China Blossom, which when I was a kid was like a treat. It was like, we'd go to China Blossom. It's like good Chinese food compared to like Evergreen on South Union Street in Lawrence, right? And we would go there. We thought it was great. Now I think they've kind of gone downhill a little bit. But right across the street, right up the street, you've got The Loft, and you've got Joe Fish, and you've got Orzo's. And then around the corner the other way down Merrimack Street, you've got that Italian place. I can never remember the name of it. And you would know. What's the Italian place right off Sutton Street? They sell paninis. Jessica took me there one day. When she was still talking
I know the one you mean. I'll find the name.
Yeah. And then if you go up the street from us, there's a Brazilian steakhouse called Charma. And they are the food. It's kind of pricey.
Right.
But for $100, maybe $120 for you and your date, it's so much food, and it's good quality food. It's steak and lobster, and you can get like
it's a little pricey, but it's worth it. Bueno Bistro.
Bistro, right.
There's
the Italian place.
There's a place my daughter goes to school at URI down in Kingston, in the Nordic Lodges down there. And it's a place that I've never went, but it's one of those places where I've got to try. I know it's like, you talk about expensive, it's like $120 ahead.
Right.
But it's, you've got everything under the sun there. You got your lobsters, you got your crab legs, everything's included. And I've heard phenomenal things. So before she graduates, I'm going to have to go down there and try that.
Did you find Miller's Tavern? Because since that was like the one that you do, did you find that pricey?
No, I felt like it was reasonably priced. I think if you're going to go out, like I think it was like $75 for the three of us. We got 2 appetizers. My daughter got a pizza. My wife got a burger. I think that's normal. It's not like you got the check and went, oh, I'm like the night we went out with a couple of friends and we got drinks. We had issues with the check, but I felt like once again I spoke to the manager and he's like, yeah, we printed these. We're going to have to fix that.
Right.
I don't feel like it's overpriced. I think, it's priced a little bit more than a chain, but that's what you want. You're paying for that quality. You're not getting your 2 for $20 like you would at Applebee's, where you're getting 2 appetizers and 2 things and dessert. You're going there because it's not a chain.
Right.
There's a time and a place to go to a chain. Texas.
I love
Roadhouse.
TGI Fridays.
I like Texas Roadhouse.
Okay, Texas Roadhouse. I don't even consider them a chain because it's just steak.
I know, but
right?
it's the roll. Like you talk about your appetizers, it's peanuts and rolls, and you never eat your meal.
Right.
And then also I'm like, oh man, I have to eat still.
Yeah, we had a big fight over Miller's Tavern the night that we were there because the person I was with said that's really pricey, and I said actually it's not that pricey at all given what we ordered. And then we sat there, we bickered about it for half an hour and ordered 3 more drinks.
No, exactly. Yeah, just have more drinks, and all of a sudden it's fine. No one, then you're like, all right, I'll pay for it.
Right. Joel Faretra from the Methuen City Council. He's our foodie. He's our food critic at the Valley Patriot. A little lighter day than we normally have because Neil Perry's going to be here next week to talk about indemnifying Steve Saber and Steve Saber costing us $48,000 or more and all the controversy and kerfuffle going on in the city of Methuen. And that's going to be a show not to miss, believe me when I tell you, because he and I actually don't agree on a couple of these things, and we've been going back and forth. So you might have a little bit of disagreement next week. But
I think you hit on all the Did you get AFC?
Oh, no, I did. But you know who I did miss? I missed because he mentioned Jason Marcoux Towing.
Right.
If you have a problem with your car, give him Marcoux Towing. The kid needs money. And he's in a very, very tough business with all the other towing companies.
Really good guy. I had the opportunity to meet him. It was one of the first calls I made as a city councilor.
And he helps the homeless, and he donates food and stuff for the homeless. Melvin Taylor says we got to go home, so I guess we got to go home already.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.